How's it going, guys? Kevin back at you with another video. In today's video, we are checking out how to make an SCX6 four-wheel steer with all stock parts. That's right, you do not need any aftermarket parts for this, except maybe a servo extension, which I guess you consider aftermarket. But for the most part, we're going to be using all Axial parts, so parts that you can buy straight off of online. I think this might be the cheapest way to do it. And in my opinion, it's probably going to be the easiest way to do that. So with that, I want to show you guys how it works, and we'll get into the install. So excuse the large ESC fan, but you can see here, this might look like the front of your typical SCX6, but this is actually the rear. So there's our steering in the rear. There's our steering in the front. So you can see this is basically a full front end conversion to the rear. And I'm going to talk through exactly what you need to do. There's very minor modifications that you need to make this work. But with that, let's get into it. So starting out here, you can see I've already thrown the front axle on the rear. I've removed one of the links, and then I've got the steering link here. And now this is me just taking apart all the rest of the parts off the rear. Essentially going to need everything from the front, which is the servo mount here. I'll have the part number in the description. But you can see it's actually a little bit too long here. It sticks out wider than it needs to. So we just need to go sand that down right to the flats essentially. It's quite easy if you have a belt sander. You do it by hand, but I wouldn't recommend it. Once you do that, it'll fit in there nicely. And then we need to add the relevant holes. So we just drilled 2 holes in there so we could bolt it in. And you can see I've added the top brace as well. This really helps add a lot of stiffness to the rear of the chassis here. And then you can see I've got everything else bolted in. That's actually on the wrong side, that bolt. But this is essentially in. We just need to add the Panhard mount and the steering. Alright, so we finally have everything complete and set up here. Apologize for the loud SCX6 fan, but see in the front I've got my normal steering. Now I do want you to note that this is with the ESC at the, I think it's 7.2, not the 8.4 volts. So I will bump the voltage up on the ESC and show you the difference. So this is carpet. You can see it actually struggles a little bit, and then we've got the rear. So right now I just have this on the pot switch. But you can see everything works really nice and fluid, no questions about it. And then our forward and reverse still work. Got to set up some expo on that. I just bound this radio to just get this going, but I'm going to bump that voltage up, show you how to do that with the V2 programming card. Since this is a smart ESC, you will need one of these. I'll show you where to plug it in. It's quite simple, and then I'll show you the difference afterwards. So for this, I highly recommend you flip over the truck, but once you find the power button, there's a little rubber plug here, and you can see I'm kind of working it out, and I popped it out. We'll find that later, but you can see there's a connection. Get this to focus here. It's a connection on the back side. So you want to take your little plug here, and then plug this in. I'm going to set the camera down so I can do this because it's a little bit tricky. Alright, so with the power button on top, you want your signal wire on the far right and your black wire on the far left. Now that I've plugged that in, you'll see this is booting up here. And I know there is a way to set this up and do all these same settings on the radio. I'm showing you guys this method for the programming card just because I know it's very reliable, it works every time. So it's a little bit easier for me. So what we're going to do here is hit select on the left side. It's going to connect to the ESC. It'll tell us what the software version is, all that good stuff. So we're going to jump through this because we don't care about that. Max forward, we can slow down the max reverse if we want to make it less. Turbo timing, we're not doing any of that. Drag brake set to 80%. Level 4. The neutral range is 10%. Punch level 5, we can crank that up if we want this to feel like it's got a little bit more power. And here we get the BEC voltage. So my apologies earlier, it's 6 volts to 7.2, not 8.4. So we're going to hit the edit button. We're going to go to 7.4. I can hit that again to go back to the 6. We're going to hit save. It says save data okay. We're going to go back. Motor rotation, and that's just restoring the default. So we're going to go through here, just check, make sure. There we go, it says 7.4, so we're good. So we can turn it off. Nice and simple. I'm going to unplug that now. We'll flip it over and we'll see how much the steering has improved. So again, just the same as before, we're on the carpet. You can actually possibly hear that the fan speed has increased. I believe that's due to the extra 1.4 volts that fan is now receiving. But you can see on carpet now, we're actually getting basically the full steering throw, whereas before it was a bit of a struggle. And on the rear here, so it's greatly improved. I still haven't decided yet if I'm just going to run the bumped up voltage and just run this for a little while. I know there's President's Day sale coming up, so I may pick up some ShiftRCS servos. I have those on my SCX6 JLU, and they are absolutely amazing. These servos at 7.4 volts are certainly better, but they're still the stock servos, so they're not the best. But I'm super excited to get this thing dialed in, get some body mounts made. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to make dedicated body mounts for the cliff hanger, or I also have the sort of cab over body style. I forget which specific body that's called, but I'm tempted to make a body mount setup that would allow me to flip between those two bodies very easily. So that may be something that I work on. The other thing to keep in mind is even though we've upped the voltage, we've now doubled the servos. So once these get loaded up, I'm sure we're probably going to overwhelm that ESC or the BEC on that ESC. So this is something where I highly recommend you go to an external BEC. That will help you greatly. I haven't done it yet because I haven't decided if I'm going to, again, upgrade these servos to direct power servos or what my plan will be for this rig. But with that, I really appreciate you guys checking out this little video here of my new four-wheel steer SCX6. I'm going to have a lot of fun with this thing out on the trail, and I'll definitely be bringing it to Axial Fest this year where you guys will be able to check it out. So with that, thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.